Alright, what is going on YouTube? Running Gun Sports back here with another video. Today is our weekly NFL news update. A very slow week for NFL news. We only got a couple of topics to talk about today, and some more Julio Jones news came in over the week, and I'm sure that will be going on for a while. Maybe not. Maybe he'll get signed, maybe he'll get traded. Right now, NBA playoffs are still going on currently. Today, the Atlanta Hawks beat the New York Knicks 113-96. They now lead the series 3-1, which has been a very heated series with Trae Young being hated by almost all of New York, and now having to go back there for Game 5. I think that I think the Knicks will take Game 5, and I think the Hawks will finish up in Game 6 at home. But it's gonna be very interesting. Trae Young, as I mentioned in the last video, was spit on by a New York Knicks fans, very passionate fan base, but that's just too far, way too far. Spitting on an opposing team's player is just too much and extremely uncalled for. And the fan was suspended as they should have been, and just too far. But you know, there's a lot of passion that goes into it. The New York Knicks have not been into playoff game in forever, and they haven't been in the playoff in a while. And they have a very strong fan base, even though they used to be in the deepest of times, and now they're making the playoffs. So, but that's just uncalled for and was very unnecessary. And Trae Young has clearly done his job and leading 3-1, only one game away from winning the series. So it's gonna be very interesting to see. The Phoenix Suns defeated the Los Angeles Lakers 100-92. The series is currently tied 2-2. It's gonna be an interesting series. In the end, I do think the Lakers will take the series, but which pains me to say as a Golden State Warriors fan. But I'd like to see the Suns win, and the Suns are one of my other favorite teams. I'm a huge fan of Devin Booker, and I'd love to see him win a title. Whether it happens or not, I kind of doubt it, but you know, I'd like to see the Lakers go down. I'm not a big fan of LeBron. He flops way too much, especially in the last game versus the Warriors. He's over the top with his flops. And then the Brooklyn Nets defeated the Boston Celtics in a shootout, 141-126. They now lead it 3-1, and they'll probably end up finishing this series off. And obviously the Heat were just swept just yesterday, and so that's not good. And I'm not a big fan of the Heat myself. I was rooting for them last year versus the Lakers, but the Nets are a very good team. I think could be the Nets and Lakers in the finals. I think the Nets are going to win the whole thing, and I don't really want the Nets to win it just because I'm not a big fan of super teams in the NBA. But moving on now to our news video, we release our college football news video will be coming out on Tuesday, and so if you have not already, please subscribe and like any video that you watch of ours, and share any video that you want to your friends. Feel free. And our NFL team reviews, we release those weekly on Friday, and we just released the Las Vegas Raiders. That was a very fun team to talk about. And then we will be going on to the Kansas City Chiefs, and then we'll be switching over to the NFC, and it will be a lot of fun. By the time we are done with the NFC team reviews, it will be football season and crazy, and so it's gonna be a lot of fun. As always, follow our social media pages at @runandgun_sports at Instagram and at @runandgunsports on TikTok if you have not already. And let's get right into the video. The NFL all-time scoring leader, Adam Benatari, with 2,673 points. He also holds the NFL record for most field goals made all time, and most postseason points, 238, and most overtime field goals. Has retired after 10 years with the Patriots, where he won 4 Super Bowls. He also spent 14 years with the Indianapolis Colts. Finished his career with an 83.8% field goal percentage and a 3-time Pro Bowler. So just a legendary career for Adam Vinatieri. The all-time NFL scoring leader. I mean, that's crazy. If you think about all the players who have been through the NFL, there's been so many greats, and to hold the all-time scoring title in the NFL is something that only one person can claim, and that is Adam Vinatieri. And it just speaks volumes to how great of a career he really had. And he's played for the Patriots for 10 years, and then the Indianapolis Colts for 14 years, and just he was very loyal for the most part. He spent a lot of time with each team he played for, 10 plus years, had a very long career, and just he's Mr. Reliable. 83.8% field goal percentage is just extremely good, and just a legendary career. 4 Super Bowls. Most NFL franchises haven't won 4 Super Bowls, so and let alone a player to win 4 Super Bowls is insane. And so, congrats to Adam Vinatieri on a marvelous career. Deserves he deserves everything, and it would be interesting to see whether he goes into the broadcasting booth or whether he coaches. What he might do, what he has planned for retirement. But happy retirement for him, nevertheless, and congrats on a awesome career. The NFL all-time scoring leader is that's just crazy. I mean, it's crazy to wrap your head around that. That a kicker, out of all the positions, a position that may not be looked at as so important, holds the all-time NFL scoring leader, and yet he's been around for 24 years. It's football is a team sport. All 11 guys need to work, and if your kicker's not working, it's gonna be bad because you need your kicker sometimes, and having a great kicker like Adam Vinatieri is extremely helpful. So, moving on to some Julio Jones news, an ESPN source has stated that the Seattle Seahawks have discussed a trade for Julio Jones with the Atlanta Falcons. The Rams have dropped out of the pursuit for the 7-time Pro Bowl wide receiver. And, I am a huge Julio Jones fan. As I mentioned in our last NFL news video where we talked about Julio Jones, I have a Julio Jones jersey hanging on the wall right next to me right now where I'm recording this video. He's my second favorite NFL player besides Derrick Henry, and both those guys, if I ever got the chance to meet any of those guys, would be a dream come true. And they're just great football players. They give back to their community. They seem like great guys, and Julio Jones is a great player, and my favorite NFL team is the Seattle Seahawks. But I just don't think that Julio Jones on the Seahawks would do well. And as much as that pains me to say, and I love Julio Jones, don't get me wrong, and it would be nice to see him on the Seahawks and would be cool and everything. But it's just we don't need receivers. We have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and I know there's a lot of Seahawks fans out there who really hope that Julio Jones comes to our team, and I don't think Julio Jones is bad or anything. I just think that we have good enough receivers that it is. Freddie Swain was a very good young wide receiver last year, along with David Moore, but obviously you have the two best receivers, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Those guys are studs themselves and can get it done. And I don't think adding weapons for Russell Wilson will make him more happy or make him play any better. I think that we really need O-line, and Julio Jones, a 7-time Pro Bowl wide receiver, is not going to be cheap at all, and that's why I think that we should consider putting our money into getting a better line, offensive line, better defensive backs, and there's more important positions than that. And I think that, yes, Julio Jones would be insane. I think that would give us the best receiving core in the league. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a great receiving core as well with Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. But Julio Jones, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf would be so much better in my opinion. And, the Chiefs have a great wide receiving core as well. But, they lost Sammy Watkins this year. But just those three guys together would be so crazy good. But the other thing is about that is if the Seattle Seahawks got Julio Jones is, those guys have to split reps. All those guys could be Pro Bowl wide receivers. Obviously, Julio Jones is a 7-time Pro Bowl wide receiver, and having to split reps with two other Pro Bowl caliber wide receivers would be insanely tough for any of those guys. And obviously, I think Julio Jones is better than both of those guys, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. But I think that splitting it for any of them would be insanely tough. And I can't imagine how difficult that would be. And DK Metcalf still on his rookie contract. Tyler Lockett just got paid this year, I believe $69 million for a 4-year deal. He's getting paid, but Julio Jones is going to want to get paid more, if not equal to Tyler Lockett, just not more. But DK Metcalf is going to have to sign soon, and I think that they're going to pay him a lot of money. And adding Julio Jones to the team would maybe not secure his future with the Seattle Seahawks as much as it would if he wasn't there. And maybe DK Metcalf wants to go somewhere he can be the number one wide receiver. Granted, Julio Jones is a bit older and may not have as many years left as DK Metcalf, but I still think that he might look at it as he won't be the number one wide receiver anymore, and he wants to go play for a team with the number one wide receiver, which would make sense. Julio Jones is one of the best wide receivers. I think he's the best wide receiver in the league if healthy, in my opinion, and hopefully he can stay healthy, and whatever team he ends up on, he's going to do very well. Also, the Titans have emerged as the current favorite for Julio Jones, and I think that would be a very good move. And they lose Corey Davis to the New York Jets, and the Titans, Ryan Tannehill needs more weapons. Obviously, they have Derrick Henry, and Julio Jones on the same team. As I mentioned, Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, my two favorite NFL players right now. If I saw them on the same team, it would just be so incredible. But really, I think that would be a very good fit, and they have the money, and they need more weapons. We saw when Derrick Henry had a struggling game versus the Baltimore Ravens, they lost, and there was no question of whether Ryan Tannehill was going to be able to do it or not. And A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, I think, could easily share the reps, and I think that would work so well. And A.J. Brown's a very young receiver still, and he's still a star player. But I think Julio Jones could teach him so much more, and it would just add a ton of value to A.J. Brown's game. It would be just a great investment. Inside sources also stated that a move/trade for Julio Jones could be coming up in this upcoming week, so we're going to look out for that. If something does happen, you'll know where to find us to talk about it on our weekly NFL news videos. So we look forward to that when that does happen. We'll wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please leave a like down below and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching.